What is insight, and how will you translate data into insight that influences decision? The first thing you need to do is to answer that question in a sentence. Then the second part says, how will you translate data into insight that influences decision? I want you to first learn to generalize what insight is in simple words. General insight is information that can be used to make decisions. And then you can say it comes in the form of relationship between variables as captured by data. Insight is the outcome of a data analysis, which helps us to understand the relationship between variables. And even the non-finance person who's in the interview can get an idea of what insight is. It is any information that can be synthesized from data collected that helps us to understand the relationship between variables, and that information can then be used to make a decision. Think of insight as the result of your analysis. In management accounting, really insight is any ad hoc analysis that you do, and you make a recommendation to say, after analyzing the following data, here is the relationship between this and that. What now is insight is not the date, is the results of an analysis, which probably could be expressed like saying, the lesser the price, the more we sell. So it's the summary or it's the conclusion of an analysis. That's insight. Think of it in the form of a payroll. Whenever you analyze the results of 5% salary increase, that's net increase. To say if marketing increases salary by 3%, the cost will increase by so much. But if so and so on, this position is not filled, then there will be a saving of so much. That is insight. Because then we can make a decision on whether to fill that position or not to fill that position, or whether to increase salary by 3% or not to increase by 3%. Generally, insight is any information that has been synthesized, is any information synthesized that can be used to make decision. By synthesized, I mean information that has been analyzed to understand the relationship between variables, and that can lead to decisions being made. Go straight to the point. First, answer the question in a short and get to the point. And then you then go on to say, I think the second part was, by capturing data into either a system or in a consistent manner and analyzing the data to understand the relationships between the different parts of the variables that data relates to, you can then be able to understand the relationship between the variables. Once you understand that relationship between variables, you can then make a decision. So help people now to understand that insight starts off as data, which is captured into a particular system in a consistent manner. What is data? Data is who was paid, how much, when, how much is still owing for invoices, how much is still unpaid for AR and payables and all that. That is data. What is insight is the P&L and the balance sheet. It now says we are making a loss at this particular point. That's insight. So how can we make decision? We need to reduce our expenditure. It's very important for you not to get lost in an interview and not to lose people who are not technical, who usually are many in the interview. You probably be interviewed with a HR person and a finance person and two other people who probably also don't care about finance or are going to be opposing you throughout. So you see how they judge whether you are the right candidate. There are two ways. It's the personality and how they think you answer the question based on the logic that you gave them. It doesn't need to be correct, the logic. They need to understand the logic. For example, let's suppose they don't understand what is insight as well. They will know that you said you collect data, you analyze that data, you create an impression of that data in terms of explaining the relationship between the data. That is what you call it insight. They can understand that is very simple. The whole point of an interview is communication. Seek to be understood and seek to understand them. When you pick a particular person as an example, try to go through that particular person's process so that you are not lost. When you are giving an example, try to focus on one thing. What you need to know is that if a person understands very well what happens with customers, they might not understand very well what happens with the business. So I would probably trim either the business or I will leave the customer, any one of those, so that the relationship is in the same direction. Whereas probably the relationship within a business and a customer might be different directions. If there's time to explain in the interview, that's fine. But sometimes the more you continue talking about something in an interview, the more people think you don't know what you're actually talking about. So I would probably say insight is information that helps to explain the relationship between variables. For example, understanding what customers are doing and why they are doing it, and using that information to predict their future behavior. We're still talking about only one thing, the customer.